We need to talk about the hot new trend in Indian content creation. It's called poverty corn. I'm saying corn, but you know what I mean. I have to say corn for the YouTube censors. You'd think that poverty corn would be way less enjoyable than regular corn, but not for some people. Some people have figured out how to monetize poverty corn better than Mother Teresa, who probably was the greatest at it. Now, I want to be clear about something. This isn't about pretending that poverty doesn't exist in India or that we shouldn't recognize that poverty exists. Many people live under very horrific conditions in India, and we should highlight it so that we can make it better. But this is about a very specific breed of content creator who've discovered that a slum safari can be monetized.
हमारा देश जो बोलता है कि वो विश्व गुरु बन गया है, विकसित हो गया है, ऐसा नहीं है.
These creators have mastered what I like to call Garibi as a service. It's like software as a service, but with way more human suffering and better profit margins. Now, a lot of these creators have built their following by diving headfirst into India's toughest neighborhoods with all the subtlety of Ravish Kumar's reporting, showing the slum life of Mumbai and how terrible it is. They walk through Mumbai's poorest areas filming rats, garbage and narrow alleys. There are some people who almost romanticize poverty. This influencer literally posed for a Sabyasachi and H&M campaign with poor villagers in the background as her personal set decoration. Another influencer decided that actually being around poor people wasn't authentic enough, so she darkened her skin with makeup and cosplayed as a street vendor selling roses. She literally put on poverty like a Halloween costume. Now, she could very well have actually hired a flower vendor and paid them properly. But then again, so while some influencers are romanticizing poverty, some influencers are showcasing poverty, asking the relevant questions to the government about why these areas are in such terrible conditions. But here's the interesting thing. When the government actually tries to fix the problems that these people are highlighting, they don't like it. Because cities across India have been implementing massive slum redevelopment programs. For example, Mumbai, take the Dharavi redevelopment project for example. The government wants to transform this area with modern housing, working toilets, running water, and electricity, free from dog bites, free from filth, and deaths from preventable diseases. Now, these redevelopment plans aren't perfect. There are legitimate concerns about displacement, community consultation, and whether contractors will actually finish projects without demanding additional adjustments to the budget, if you know what I mean. But the problem is that a lot of these slum redevelopment projects are being opposed hook, line, and sinker by the same influencers that have built their entire following from showcasing the problems with these poor communities. This is the beautiful contradiction at the heart of this entire ecosystem. The same influencers who spent months documenting how terrible living conditions are suddenly develop the social consciousness of a Jain sadhu when someone suggests actually improving these conditions. It's like a doctor who's built their entire practice around treating diabetes suddenly becoming very concerned about the side effects of insulin. Well, yes, the blood sugar level is terrible, but have you considered how regulating glucose levels might affect the pharmaceutical industry? Every single major slum redevelopment project has been opposed hook, line, and sinker by these same very activists. They said Dharavi shouldn't be redeveloped because it'll destroy the beauty of Mumbai and the composite culture of Mumbai. They opposed the removal of some trees in the Are forest, even though it would help create more train lines and it would massively help the average Mumbaiker's commute to and fro from work. It would make their lives significantly easier. If you've ever seen videos of the Mumbai locals, and even worse, if you've been on a Mumbai local, you know how crowded it gets. You know how dangerous it is. You know how uncomfortable it is to travel there. So creating more lines, easing the congestions, and making ordinary people's lives easier through that commute is a no-brainer. But even that was opposed. When Govindpuri was cleared in Delhi, Twitter exploded with accusations that the government was just trying to make these cities look pretty for the cameras. Meanwhile, after opposing this, the same critics will spend months documenting how terrible the living conditions of people in these slum communities are. So they want to have their cake and eat it too. They bemoan how poor India is and how the government doesn't fix those problems. They also romanticize dilapidated Kolkata buildings as some work of art. Because look, bemoaning about how bad the problem is much more lucrative than solving the problems. If the problem is solved, what will you bemoan? How will you make millions from selling poverty corn to the world? So the ultimate test for any influencer claiming to care about these social issues is what happens when somebody actually proposes a solution or when somebody tries to implement a solution. Do they support these improvement efforts? Do they offer constructive criticism while supporting these redevelopment efforts? Or do they suddenly discover a whole encyclopedia of reasons why solving poverty would actually be more problematic than poverty itself? I'll leave that question to you.